Hey gentlemen, well, how are you? I want to talk to you about a little pet peeve. This is going to be Francis's tirade of today. About 6 years ago, some glorified Bilderberg fool stood up and said, the next great resource that we have will be water. Oh, shock, horror, everybody. Oh my God, we're going to be short of water. And a lot of people ran with the story, and overpopulation, too many people, not enough water, etc., etc. More recently, I did a clip on Cape Town's shortage of water in the area that's caused draconian cutbacks and very limited supply, lack of availability even in stores to buy water, and the need for everybody to be libertarian and self-reliant. Now, those two themes coming back to back, I'm reminded also of another Bilderberger, CEO for Nestle. Name forgets me, and I'm going to leave it to you guys to go root out and find him. But this control structure stooge made the statement, and he's a confirmed Bilderberg member, by the way, of this Swiss company. You will not own, it is not a human right for you to own the water that falls on your roof. Thanks, bud. He's pushing his trolley there. You can't stop the wheel because you want to make a YouTube clip, can you? Anyway, so this Nestle CEO said, you do not have the human right to state that you own the rain that falls on the roof of your house. I'm going, hello? What's this? So something that's coming onto your property that is a natural resource that is made available by nature's cycle, and we all know that they're starting to meddle with weather patterns immensely as well, in geoengineering, and that this subject matter exists quite extensively. You're now being told that what naturally ends up occurring over your property is not yours. Now, for those, that's outrageous, but for those that think that's abnormal, in the UK, if you actually found oil in your property, all terra firma, below the earth's surface minerals, actually doesn't belong to you in the UK if you own the property. It belongs to the old bag called the Queen, who's the control structure figurehead, but far more powerful than many realize. They think it's just a figurehead. But anyway, so you don't always, already those rights have been undermined. So here we have a number of different random events all popping up. I get a newsletter, and the newsletter's big heading is, water will be the next great resource, and here are shares you can buy that will be securing the scarce resource, and all of that. And I'm absolutely astounded. So there's a theme, there's a meme, let me just say. And when you think memes are coincidental, I want you to say very little is random coincidence. There is something going on, utterances that get made, themes that run into investment letters, headlines in the Financial Times, an economist making a similar statement with a diagram. A situation like in the Cape that may even be resourced or referenced as a case study. These things are rarely random. And as a reminder, I'm going to talk also about peak energy. You may remember we were all told about peak energy. They were taking a run at us at peak oil, peak this, peak that, peak everything. In other words, there's too much about, you're burning too much fuel, etc., etc. And I certainly think some countries are, and should be made to be slightly more aware. But I'm always suspicious of the intent. Now we've gone solar, or going more and more solar. People are realizing that for a very limited mega square mileage of the Sahara Desert, in fact, on solar panels, we could in fact distribution aspects obviously still to be set up, could in fact power the whole world on a set of solar panels that wouldn't be much bigger than a postage stamp when you're looking at the map of the Sahara. So this is, the peak energy thing has quietly died away and gone away. And now we're getting warmed up on a new resource that's about to die, a new fear for you all to worry about. Or you can try, and what it tends to happen is you get the what I call the pub pseudo-intellectual echo chamber guy that says, I know what's going to be the next big thing. And he just happens to have stumbled on a cover of The Economist, the FT, or seen the newsletter that I get. He said, water will be the next resource. Ha! I bet you never thought of that. How clever am I? People are going to be fighting over water. It's absolute crap. It's complete crap. In the same way, energy is actually never destroyed. If you've done physics, you put a certain amount of power into driving a car forward, you've burnt a certain amount of fuel, it's gone into a combustion, it's created a certain amount of energy, there's inefficiencies, so some of the power is lost in moving air out of the way, and when you brake, you're actually meshing two indestructible or near to indestructible methods, a brake pad made of a very, very hard substance and a galvanized disc together. You're creating an immense amount of heat, but that which you put in and the brake takes out will be the same amount of energy that was sent in sending it in the original direction, and that energy is not lost, it just turns to heat. When you go really fast and you hit the brakes, you've worn a whole bunch of your brake pads off, so that takes work to take a very to take even a microscopic element off your brake pad, but it's the same as calories. You don't get fat if it's calories in and calories out. If there's a residual, that's what you're holding and you're accumulating. And in the same with water, it's an overpopulation theme. It goes with the BBC with all the nature docs. There's an underlying tone of too many people on the planet, and broadly speaking, hey, I'm cool with some people probably shouldn't have as many kids as what they should, but I'm worried when a control structure says that, because deep down in their thinking, it's them that has the decision as to who gets to live and who gets to die. I'm okay with certain families would do a bit better off if maybe they had a little bit less kids. I'm okay with certain countries maybe that they should, it's been shown that more energy is put into a child if there's less of them. What worries me is when control structures have means like too much energy, which has largely been buried, and now too much water. Water is available everywhere. Desalination, let's take the South African example in case. There hasn't been a shortage of water, there's been a shortage of planning. And in fact, in the same way as energy, before the water shortage in the West Cape, there was a shortage of energy, and they were doing load shedding because they stopped investing in Eskom. They never understood what they'd inherited from the evil apartheid government that actually planned and had surplus energy. Then just kept adding people to the grid, and then suddenly wondered where all that surplus went, to the point where they continued to add people to the grid, and actually they had a deficit, and they started cutting areas off, and then cutting mines off and production off. You can say peak energy, or you can say peak idiotic resource management. And that is exactly what it is in the Cape as well. A couple of dry seasons should not break the back of a great and beautiful province in the tip of Africa. Simply shouldn't. There's a desalination plant in South Africa, in the Western Cape itself. Really professional, big company, and they are selling their desalination plants equipment to Dubai and Saudi, and have been doing so for years. And they've only just received their first inquiry, not sale, inquiry. This is a South African man that talks like me, runs a business, builds awesome plant and equipment, sells it internationally to the likes of Dubai, Saudi, the Middle East, for turning seawater into fresh drinking water for use, cattle, human consumption, bathing, showering, flushing loos, drinking. Desalination plants. And he hasn't sold one yet in his home province. Now fatally undersupplied with fresh water. The ocean can be pumped through desalination plants given enough time on a scale that could provide more water than anything. You don't get shortage of water. What you get is in dry places, or in dry seasons where there's been extended dry places that are out of the norm, supply or distribution issues. That's all. You don't get peak water. Humans actually can only consume and hold a certain amount of water. You drink coffee, it's a diuretic, you spit more of it out, you go pee. You eat and you drink a lot of water, you go pee. You are a mini reservoir for water. Yes, your body's made up, and depending on where you get, a high percentage of it in water, in your brain needs functionality, and once you have your fill, you don't keep absorbing. It passes through you and it goes back into the system. We've already had sewage to drinking water systems and solutions. Literally, your pee goes into a series of events and can either be sent agriculturally to be water for trees and other things, or it can be processed to the point that you could go outside the other factory and drink a glass of your own finest and it would be pucker. In other words, there is no shortage, and having more people doesn't mean more water goes away. It just means small little reservoirs that need to hold, I don't know how many liters, someone who's biological will tell us, a certain amount of liters of water will carry on holding that water in their person. And when you die and you dry up and it goes into that box, and that wet damp wood soaks into that soil, and all of it gets given back to the system. You do not kill water in the same way you don't kill energy. It turns to heat, it turns to light, it turns to other things. Water will turn to steam, it'll be dispersed, it'll go into another medium and be held there, which will be more damp and less dry, until it reaches a point that it's saturated and can't hold anymore. Then it rots and it leaks out. Water is not a destroyed item, and we do not have a shortage of it. And with desalination plants, anywhere which is dry can have sufficient water. I was in Dubai, I travel everywhere. I'm about to go to Acapulco, a desert surrounded by sea, and I expect plenty of water, both drinking and swimming variety in the ocean. Dubai is so hot, so dry, there's no shortage of water. There's never been a shortage of water. It's called planning. It's called planning. It's distribution. There's an ocean there. No issue. Desalination plants, everyone has water. Everyone's flushing toilets. No one's saving water. No one's doing anything. It was 46 degrees. I spent the whole time in the hotel. I went out at about 6 and it was about 34. To have a swim in the pool. Pool was full. 5-star hotel. Pool was full. Water gets evaporated, more water gets pumped in. There is no shortage. The key thing about control structures is they have to build in future taxes, which brings us to the interesting topic of smart meters. In the UK, everybody is, oh, you're so lucky, you've been elected to get a smart meter in your house. The Trojan virus of information on how you live extends in all ways. Smart meters, what you're using, how much you're using. Nobody wants to waste. Hey, I'm not for waste. None of what I say is for waste. The argument will be it's to protect us for waste and everything. In other words, the noblest of intents of the control structure usually has a tax sitting beside it, getting you to pay more for something. Saying, oh, but you're slightly above average. You were paying a flat rate, but you're slightly above average. You need to pay more for your water. We need to punish those that are wasteful of water. Everyone who can vote against that. It's like voting against motherhood. You know, down with moms. You know? So we've got to punish. We need a system that rewards those that are frugal with our scarce resources. Who can argue with the narrative apart from the fact that they're not scarce? And it's a disguised Trojan parasitic tax point for future embedment in your lifestyle. Why is this guy saying the rain that falls on my roof isn't mine? All the more reason right now, get your rainwater harvesters, fill your tank, be independent. I've got an interesting relationship with water. I believe that water is one of the easiest ways to limit our lifespans. By the time you start to get too smart, you need to start being too old or too useless and too complacent and too dulled down, too full of arthritis to be able to resist the system. So a certain level of toxicity that you can poison gets someone through a working life cycle to the point that they're just mentally dangerous and they're physically no longer capable. The truth is, we don't die of old age. There is no sickness called old age. You die of accumulated toxicity and cells that over time, with that toxification, get beaten up a little bit and they split again and you have more old cells, essentially. Toxicity. And I've been distilling my water for ages. You should smell the green and grey festering sludge at the bottom of my distiller after every gallon of London's finest has been put through the distiller, the Hunt distiller. I don't have one, I have two. This is like my twin turbo in the kitchen. I don't need to heat the house in winter, man. I'm taking the poison out of the system, the approved water that is always being ongoingly monitored. Meanwhile, leaky pipes in London are spilling untold, hemorrhaging untold amounts. You need a smart meter because you're wasteful and it's a limited resource. It's not a limited resource. You don't need a smart meter. You should be able to take everything that lands on your property and recycle it, distill it, heat it and distill it, and have better water than that which is supplied to you by your psychopathic, parasitic state that wants to poison you slowly to your deathbed and cancer you out just when you're smart enough to be a pain in the ass. That is the cycle. That is the goddamn cycle. Hear me now. Hear me now. There is no shortage. Everything is scarcity. You should be looking over your shoulder and saying, those third world darkies drinking all our water. What the hell if there's a war and they get all mute? It's absolutely disgusting that they encourage that. It's always an ethnicity, not your own or first world. There's one humanity. There is one humanity. There is no overpopulation. Yeah, certain folks maybe don't nail the family planning bit so good, and they might be able to do better for themselves if they didn't. Every person in the planet stood shoulder to shoulder. We wouldn't fill a mid-sized state like Kansas. There's more chickens in the world than there are humans. Don't buy this. Beggar thy neighbor, let them perish, let them dry, let them down. Someone different, someone I can't associate with, different language, different culture, different continent, you know, rubbish. They're all humans, and we're all human, and there's no goddamn scarcity. There's a flipping huge ocean, and there's as many desalination plants you can buy from my friendly South African in Western Cape who'd love to take your hard-earned and sell you decent kit that's doing the job for the Middle East Arabs, to the extent that there is absolutely no curtailing of resources, no time on how long you shower in a place like Dubai, which would have been virtually inhabitable for 95% of the global population, but for a few Bedouins that lived in caves and scurried around in the evening. Don't buy it. Don't buy into these memes of scarcity. Don't buy into the subtle programming of overpopulation. Use your critical thinking. Be suspicious of coincidentally confluencing media narratives coming at you. With that daily rant out of way, I want to wish you well. I'm going to pop on down to Acapulco now. Fortunate to have a nice lying down seat. I'm going to get to sleep properly. I'm going to get some sunshine, and I'm going to hang around with a bunch of anarchists, real anarchists, but the thinking man's anarchists, at Crypto-Puco, and I think it's Anarcha-Puco. Jesus, these names are far too clever for me. Anyway, I'm going to be there anyway, even if I can't say it. And I'm hoping to get some really interesting people to speak to as well in the crypto realm and generally the libertarian realm. Sort your own resources out. Keep government out of your life. They are not your friends. Not in anything they provide, do not trust. Cleanse your own water. If you want a link to the Viafosa distillers I use, I'll happily post them, but this is not a sales talk. I get nothing for it. This is just about putting clean stuff in your body. By the way, I have a separate system on the water that puts up alkalinity, reduces acidity, I have the measurements for it, the number of particles that are in my water, and I can test it, and I do, and I can show you the difference, and I have done in other legacy YouTubes, and I can suggest to you also to get alkaline water for drinking and acidic water, which you'll get as a byproduct for cleaning your dishes, and you'll just be that bit smarter, that bit cleaner. And for those of you that suffer from arthritis or calcification in weird ways, question the quality of your drinking water. Distill is just a kettle, a real simple process. It's a big kettle, boils your water, recondenses the good stuff back down into a gallon glass for you, which gets filtered on the way out. Your filter in your water filter jug is not, I repeat, not good enough. You don't want to hear this, oh, I only drink my water through filtered. That's not good enough. Sorry, you don't take out the cancer drugs, the estrogenization of the girls' contraceptive pills. That's not an attack on the woman, by the way, more the pharmaceutical services. You do not get clean water unless you fully distill it, and you will not get alkali clean water unless you have an alkalizer on it. So think about those things, and you can capture your own water. And can I tell you, distilled water, if you come do the Google search, oh damn, I've got to do another 30 seconds, just stumbled on something I haven't told you. Do a Google search on distilled water, and it says people can die from drinking distilled water, and it has this fake World Health Report. I've been drinking distilled water, let me tell you, for the last 4.5 years, I feel better than I've ever felt before. It feels less sour, it feels less heavy, it feels lighter and sweeter. And you say, oh, what about minerals? You need minerals. No, you eat food for minerals. The minerals you're getting in there are toxins, sulfurs, and drugs. Byproducts of other people's urine that should be filtered out. And this has been proven. So do that. If you do that Google search, you'll be discouraged from doing the right thing. Stay in your pen, you chicken. Do not fly over that fence. Do not attempt to escape into the free open meadow of real liberty and freedom. Stay in the pen so that you can be selected and slaughtered come your time. And that is that Google search that does it. And go and read some of the amazing people that have done an immense amount. And the cleansing nature of water, especially if you have negative ionized charged water, it takes out the heavy metal, the mercury in your fillings, everything that you absorb. This is turning into a health rant as well. Oh my God, I'm on fire. But please hear me now, and do not believe there's a shortage of water. You should make sure you supply your own water and get it as clean as you can, as alkaline as you can, and as negatively charged, so that it may strip out as it goes through you the positive charge of heavy metals and other pollutants. It will extend your life. It will give you a better quality of life, and you can snub government and their smart meters and their poison water. That's it from Francis. That has to be it. It's over. It's over. I'm calling it quits. Bye.